Now, social inference, when we do social inference, just now we talk about selecting, interpreting, and remember and use information. Now, so what are the steps when we do social inference? The first one is to gather information. It could be a surrounding, could be your parents, TV, your friends, internet, or even the trees or the schools, and just your surrounding. Next one is to decide what information to use. What makes one thing attracted to you and become relevant, and ignore the rest. And often what are the things that interest you are the things that it's more relevant to you in your life. Let's say if you are a fashion designer, you don't look at the person's hair, but you look more on the person's dress. Or if you're a stylist, you don't look at the person's jewelry, but you look more on the person's hair. Now, you ignore the rest because normally they are not relevant to you. They just don't care. If an aircon man comes to your house, the focus is on the aircon. If you meet a constructor, the focus is on the building of Malaysia. If you talk about parents, the focus is always tend to be mothers or children. Next one, after that, the last step is for you to combine all your information, and then you make into judgment and you make conclusions on the event. So I hope before that we continue, I hope that you understand what social inference first before we continue to the next slide. Now, some of the aspects of social inference is dispositional inference. Now, the first impressions on others. Now, this is one where first impression counts. And whether you want to admit or you want to deny it, it's true. First impressions really count, and that makes people think of how you are. You might see a beggar on the road, and your first impression is that he's poor and he's dirty. That's your first impression. And that makes your social inference, actually. Next one, your emotions. Your emotions can actually affect your social inference. That your selection level is different. So let's say if you're happy, you're very excited about your surrounding. So you pay attention to this, you pay attention to that. But when you're sad, usually your selection or normally your social inference, the level of your social inference tends to be lower. You tend to neglect everything around you, and you just focus on your sad emotion. Next one is mood congruence memory. Here, whereby it means when you're happy, you tend to remember things that are happy, and when you're sad, you tend to remember things that are sad, which is true. Motivation. Your level of motivation depends on the situation you are in. So learning how to drive and versus learning how to fly. Now, between how to drive and how to fly, which level of social inference you would have more? Which one would have a higher level of social inference? That would be how to fly, because you know nothing about flying at all. You want to learn everything, from every little switch and how many steps or how high it is. Instead, learning how to drive, you tend to neglect. You even start your engine this way. You don't even look at the mirror. You just don't care, because your level of social inference has already reduced. Next one are your thoughts. Active learning. Most thoughts only store in short-term memory. What is worth remembering? Your thought is, it goes through inside your mind. So you need to know what is important at that time. Next one is affective forecasting. Now, feelings would affect your judgment. Let's say in a day, right now, it's actually quite gloomy. Outside it's dark, the cloud is dark, it's pretty much gloomy. But if you're happy inside, you would perceive outside as a very happy, enjoying time. But if you're sad, you would perceive the surroundings or your environment as it's not going to work out. It's going to be rainy. Okay, that's why all these aspects, they actually affect how you socially influence things around you. Next one, categorization. We tend to categorize people, ethnic, gender, or social class. category-based stereotype is actually a stereotype. It's actually not fair to base everyone or to put everyone into different groups or boxes. Next one is the dual processing, the schematic stereotypic or the category-based stereotype. Now, the next aspect is the contextual effects, which is a comparison with the last situation. Now, if the cinema, we talk about contrast right now. The cinema first, it's very quiet. So we know that it's quiet. But then suddenly, if you make it really loud, and then becomes very quiet. Now, if it's quiet, and then it will become quiet. But if it suddenly become very loud, and even though it's quiet, but the people which is exposed to the loud noise would say the cinema it's more quiet. Because in contrast, we contrast with the previous experience. Next one is the assimilation, which is, for example, the assignment. So the first assignment that the lecturer get was bad. So of course the first one was bad. But the second one, if the first assignment is very good, okay, of course very good, the lecturer gives an A. But then the second one is the same bad, the same article. But then the second lecturer would give very bad to the student because of assimilation effect. Yeah. Next one is averaging principle. Like mathematics, we do average using calculative. We average all the situations that we have seen. We average, for example, we average all these wars happening. We average the situation. And halo effect. Halo effect, it means your first impression to like or dislike. If you like something, your social inference will be different when you dislike something. Now, a schema, just now we talk about schema. Now, what is a schema? A schema is actually like a computer file. A computer file, you have A, B, C, D, E for different things. A schema is a cognitive structure on how you organize your information in your thoughts on specific social substance, like a person, a group, an event, or a role. Different things, you have different schema. You can have different schema. You can have schema on your friend. You can have schema on your school, or you can have schema on the computer brand, or you have different schemas. Some people might perceive brand A as better as brand B. So why is that? Now, category, we can look in terms of person schemas or role schemas or group schemas. Heuristic is another term to use. It is a non-optical rule of thumb you use to arrive at a judgmental that is effective in many times, but not all the cases. Stereotypes are often said to function as heuristic. It is actually stereotypic. It's actually not good. Like ex-prisoners. Most people, they don't like to hire ex-prisoners because they perceive them to be dangerous, to be lazy, or they might steal the things from the office. That's why these are all our schemas. How we think about a person or an event is a schema. Or we perceive females as weak or less educated, or they should just stay at home. Or people with funky hair. Let's say if we have a prime minister that has funky hair, we think that our prime minister is just playing, just fooling around and not just serious with the country. Now these are all the schemas that we have in order to organize how we want to know this world. Now, for example, before court, we always advise people to dress nicely. Why? Even though like a rock star, the lawyer always advised the person to dress like coat and suit. Why? Because the judge would see the person who's wearing suit, person who's clean and neat, as someone who's nice. Yeah? Or another example is politicians. If you look in TV or in a newspaper, they like to be present in the public with their wife and children. They like to hold their children and the wife, and they like to take family photos together. But the question is, are they that loving or family oriented?